Most of you, but my name is Jennifer Mack. I have a team called Jennifer Mack Properties, and I've been in real estate for 19 years, and I've been saying 18 years for like 3 years, so I need to up that. 19 years now. And I live in Mantua, so if anyone ever has Mantua questions, feel free to call me. I get about a call a day with questions about Mantua. But that's in Fairfax, in case you don't know, about 5 minutes from here. But my team members are spread out from DC to Woodbridge to Warrenton to Sterling to Leesburg, so all over the place. And we have a team member licensed in West Virginia for if you all need to refer anyone, plug for Gretchen. And we sell all price points, so we're not just, actually I don't do a lot of luxury. I'm definitely not known for luxury, but I would say my average price point is about 900. Everything from condos, townhomes, single families, I will do it all. So I think that's about it.
Awesome. All right. And then a little bit about me. So I have 2 teens, married. My husband almost 20 years, and been in real estate for 23 years, and I'm the founder of the Capital Growth Pioneers, which our group is super exciting. We've grown to 183 agents now, so super exciting, and I think soon to be over 200. I have a team, Big DeCaro Associates, that's about 10 years in the making, and we have 13 team members, about half of which are in support roles, and not having those support roles would mean we couldn't do all the things that we do. So I just wanted to let you guys know, like, a lot of these things that you're going to be witnessing and seeing is because of a result of having the team helping. And then one of the things that I'm most proud of is being able to grow our team at like 38 million in 2 years up to 91 million. So again, thanks to the team. So that's a little bit of some other information, but we'll jump right on into it and let you guys know kind of the first step is really understanding who these sellers are. So as you're going into your listing presentation, it's very important to know who these sellers are, what their motivation is in order to understand what you can do with them and what you can advise them on. Because if you come in with the same exact kind of script for everyone, it's not going to work. So asking a lot of questions up front and things. So do you want to go cover some of those things? Like,
Yeah. And one thing I would say to you is that if you are going on listing appointments and you're not getting the listing, one of the frustrating things is that we don't always get a lot of feedback as to why we didn't get the listing. We're almost lucky if we get a phone call or an email telling us that we didn't get it right, because most people just are scared of confrontation and they just kind of, will ghost you. But my opinion is that one of the reasons why agents don't always get the listing is because a seller feels like they really weren't heard. So like Vic was saying, it's so important to go in and really ask a lot of questions so that you can determine kind of which category the seller fits into. And if they feel like you didn't ask those questions and you just walked in assuming that they were going to be like your typical seller, then that's really going to be a turnoff for them, right? Feeling heard, both buyers and sellers, is one of the most important things. So when you walk in there, you want to make sure that they understand that you're willing to work with all different types of scenarios. Of course, the result they're going to get is dependent on which category they fall in, and so that's up to you to make sure you're communicating that effectively to them. But you definitely don't want them to think that you're just one of those agents that's going to walk in there and give them a list of $100,000 in things that they have to do, which they may either be unable, unwilling, uncomfortable, overwhelmed with doing. So you want to find out whether they're kind of the baseline category would be that as is seller. They're like, listen, I cannot handle doing anything, whether it's money or a lot of times it's just overwhelm, stress. They may have the money, they just can't handle it. So of course you're going to gently approach that conversation with whether they would be willing to maybe do some things with your assistance, because they may not understand how much a full service agent will do for them. Like I always like to say to people, I'm like, I don't say this, but in my mind, I'm like, just leave and give me the keys. Like, I will do everything. Just leave. Give me the keys, But not everybody wants to do that. So you've got to be very, careful. And part of this is, for those of us who are high Ds, which I'm 99D, I'm assuming you're 99D as well, 9.5D. It's very hard sometimes to just kind of have that gentle approach with people. It's something that I've had to learn over the years when you're trying to determine all this. So again, as a seller, are they willing to maybe do 50%? Are they 100% all in, willing to do whatever you recommend? And I always say to them, it's my job to give you all of the recommendations for how you can get top dollar for your home. Ultimately, though, it's your decision. And then I say to them, I have some people who tell me what I have to do. I'll do anything. I'm your, just give me my list and I'll do it. And then I have other people who really don't want to do anything. And so I explain that to them so they know that I do work with all these different kinds of people. And then I say, tell me a little bit about kind of where you think you fall in. And I make it very comfortable for them to be honest with me, because some people, like I said, really have trouble being honest, and they'll kind of misrepresent their true feelings if you don't really open that door for them to be able to be truthful about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So I would say what Jennifer was saying, the biggest value that you can do coming into a listing presentation is being honest, no matter what, right? So like it's going to backfire if you don't. So you guys have seen listings that expire. There's a reason why they expire, withdrawn. Those ones are basically what we call a lot of times people just trying to be too nice, right? Because they're afraid to be kind, which is telling the truth. Because being kind means when you tell them that, they can actually do something about it. Being nice is just telling them what they want to hear. So one of the things is that goes with pricing, right? So pricing is really important. So if they tell you some number that's really outrageous, you have to react to it. And I do, because I'm just kind of a reactive person, like the way that I'm, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So I'll do that. I don't mean it in an insulting way, but I don't hide my feelings. When they say something that's outrageous, I will tell them, and I will explain to them, well, the reason why, I want to tell you all this, and I ask them for permission. Do I have permission to tell you? Because my job is to represent you and look out for your best interest. And if I don't tell you the truth, that's not representing you with your best interest in mind. Now, let me tell you also why agents will take your listings. I will tell them this because it's the truth. And not tell you all that, because first off, they don't want to hurt your feelings. Number two, some of people just want to get a listing so that they can use it to market. They know that it may never sell, and they're hoping for a price reduction. And there will be feedback that comes through, and we want you to know about that, but not after the fact. So my job here is to tell you all of it. And in the listing presentation, I will give them a few teasers. But in order to get it all, you have to sign the listing agreement. So make sure you do that, because there are sellers that will take everything from you and then list with somebody else. So we don't give them everything. We just give them a bit of teasers, enough to be like, wow, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. And they really are showing, they have, a track record. So share results of, your listing plan, some teasers that you tell them, but then show proof of success with it. So we give case studies, share like the facts so that they understand what's important. So we work with buyers and sellers. We don't work with just sellers, so we understand what the buyers are looking for. So we share that with them. Don't assume that they know that. Like buyers, a lot of times, they'll say, the sellers will say, well, can't the buyers just replace the carpet themselves? Well, yes, they can, but the thing is sometimes they don't have the money or the time, or they don't have the vision. Like they just can't picture it being different. And so once they have that bad picture in their mind, it's like the stigma against your property that you don't want that to be in their mind. So a line that I use a lot is I always say, Sarah's heard me say it like a gazillion times, but basically the heart chooses, the mind justifies, right? So you want them to fall in love with your listing. You want them to fall in love with your home, and then they'll justify why it's worth paying that price or escalating way over that price, right? And that's why they do that, because it's the heart, right? And whoever is the main person that's the buyer, they're going to go for that, and then they'll justify. But if it's the other way around, they come and they're like, this house is crazy. What were they thinking? All they're going to do is talk bad about your listing. Even though they submit an offer, they'll go low, and then they'll just justify why they can't pay a higher price. So always go for the heart. It's emotional purchase. That's residential property. So that's what we do. So you coach your client and you tell them all that. And a lot of our clients will say, wow, that's a lot of... I was like, Jennifer's over there. Thank you for posting. But basically just letting them know that there's a lot of psychology involved in it, and coaching them and letting them know about that is more than just basically saying, hey, we need you to do this, this, and this. Give them some reasons behind it and justification for it, because it is also an emotional thing for the seller, and be aware of their feelings. So I struggle with this because I feel like I'm just there to help, but they don't know me. So they think like, gosh, this lady's kind of mean or whatever, so I'm really trying to work on being sensitive to how they might feel, but not too sensitive to the point that I won't tell them. So I'll still tell them, and then I'll put in things like, this is, and I'll give them compliments, and I won't, if it's not true, but I'll say if it's true, like, this is beautiful, but it's so personalized that you don't want them focused on that one picture, and so focused on that they're not even looking at the beauty of your home. The beauty of your home is like what you did, like all those windows. If you open up all those blinds, take down all those curtains, you can see all of the amazing landscaping that's outside. But having those like curtains that's covering it, it's dark and all that, it's not for everyone. And I know you like dark because you like, that kind of the ambience for you, but most people, if you look and you Google it, they'll say they want natural light. They want lots of lights in a home. So give them a reason. If you don't give them a reason, they're just gonna feel kind of hurt or insulted or whatever else.
Yeah, you've got to pepper the compliments in. So, your goal was to have them remove the curtains, but by giving them the compliment about the view out there or the light or whatever, you got your point across, but at the same time, they didn't come, to me, they wouldn't probably take it as my curtains are ugly, but it's like, oh, my view is beautiful and you can't see it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is in this kind of higher, I mean, that's up for debate, but whatever, higher interest rate environment and high price environment, you want to have a script about how it's really hard for buyers to stomach high prices, high interest rates, and have to make these changes to the home. It's really difficult for a lot of buyers to do all three of those things. If it's just two of those items, it's a little bit, it's just hard, for them to handle that. And so you want to put themselves in the shoes of those buyers so that they really understand. And then the other script that I give them is when buyers are going through your house looking, they're making a mental checklist of everything that they would need to change about the house. They're saying, I would need to do this, 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 this. They walk out of the house, they compare the list in their head to the price of the home, and they pretty much make a decision. I would say 90% of the time, they've made a decision by the time they leave. Does this price make sense for how long my list is? And if it makes sense, the house stays on the list. If it doesn't make sense, they're on to the next. And you've got to explain that to the seller so that they really understand.
Yeah, definitely. And so we have some tips that you guys can do. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you could be doing, but here's some staging tips to kind of share with the seller. So it's always less is more. So if they have to think about it, let it go. Like if they're like, well, I don't know, okay, gone. If they're even debating it, it's better to be gone than to even have it. Okay, so I always say less is more. You want to neutralize it and personalize as much as possible. What does that even mean? Like sometimes we say that a lot, like people say neutralize, depersonalize. Be sure to give them examples of things that are working. So you can look in the Facebook groups, realtor groups, what's the colors that are working right now? It used to be all gray. Now there's like a little bit of the beiges coming back. So give them advice of that because don't assume that they know what that means, neutralize, right? So, and also depersonalize means like no pictures of the family, really. I don't like to have that because people will just focus, again, who lives here? And if they don't identify with that person, then they might say, well, this is probably not kind of my place. And that goes with political stuff, religious stuff, everything. So let them know as much as they can. Those things are meaningful to us while we're living here, but it's something that you want everybody else to feel connected to your home. But if you put something out that means a lot to you, they want to let you keep your house. A lot of times people will be like, oh my gosh, this is such a sweet family. I don't want to take the house from them. They're like, what? Yeah, that actually happens. People say that.
They assume that you're upset about moving.
Exactly. They make assumptions. So as much as you can, remove that. Online photos and videos are the first impression and will either entice people to come or not. So why are certain homes in the same exact neighborhood sitting on the market forever while others want to sell? Because of that, right? So the online impression, not only with pictures, videos, but price. So if it's overpriced, they're just going to wait for it to go down. If the pictures don't look good, they're just like, it's too much trouble, it's not good, move on, right? And so perception is reality. If there's nothing wrong with the house, but just because the price was wrong, it's going to impact it, right? And then the buyers will say, something must be wrong with this house. They don't think that it's just the price. They might think it's price, but most of the times they're like, something else is wrong with it too. And then if it doesn't look good, they're just not going to be that interested with it. So the pictures are really important. Something that we really spend a lot of time looking at is the order that you put it in. So just because the pictures come in from the photographer in the order that he walked it does not mean how you should upload it. You know that there's like a preview on like almost all the sites of 4 or 5 pictures. So you don't want the first 5 pictures to be exactly the same picture of the house in different angles. It's just the picture of the house. So, rearrange the pictures in kind of a teaser format, and then it can go through it. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be in order. If the best room is in the basement, take that picture up and show it first, and then you'll have the virtual tour, and even the virtual tour doesn't have to be in order. But I think a lot of times when I look through on the MLS and see people's pictures, I'm like, this is so weird. They have like the powder room because it's the first thing you walk in. It's like foyer, then powder room. that's their third picture. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the picture that pops up in the teaser. So
yeah, there was an agent that posted in, I think it was in the Burke Facebook group last night. She's like, I'm so surprised my listing's still on the market. You know, here it is. And I went and looked at it, and her first 6 pictures were all the exterior.
Yeah.
I was so bored by the time I got to the end of the 6th picture. I didn't want to keep going, but I was like, I got to keep going because maybe I have a client for it.
Yeah.
So I kept going, but people do not have the attention span. So you want to act as if people are looking on websites that literally only allow 6 photos. Which 6 are you going to pick?
Yep.
If you can keep their interest after those first 6, they're probably going to keep going. But do not just have it be, like you said, different angles of the outside. That is definitely one of my biggest pet peeves.
yeah,
As you can tell.
and both of us do staging, not only our own, but also with professional stagers. And one of the most important things is that sellers, when you're talking about staging, let's say if it's a vacant home, they're like, well, I don't want to pay for it, or I don't want to do that. You don't have to stage every room, but definitely try to stage the rooms that are unique or unusual, that people they don't have the vision for it, or they think that it's too small. So if you put furniture or something in it, it gives scale to the room and allows them to see like, wow, okay, I could see myself living there. But without it, they're going to say, well, this room is too small. It doesn't even fit a bed. And meanwhile, it does fit a queen size bed or whatever. So you want to make sure that any unusual shaped rooms or any rooms that appear to be small, you try to give some scale to the room. Right?
Yeah, sometimes there's kind of awkward spaces in rooms where people have done renovations and they really weren't sure what to do with certain spaces. That's where the stager earns their money, right? They need to give you suggestions for what can we do with this so that people don't think it's wasted space. Because with as expensive as homes are, nobody wants to waste, any amount of square footage really, but especially, more than 20 square feet or so, nobody wants to waste that space.
Yeah, for sure. So there are some other things like, paint and replace carpet with neutral colors. Again, let them know what those are. If you work with contractors and things that's worked before, share that with them. And, I always say to all of the sellers we work with, the baseline is paint and carpet. That's just the bottom. Like that's almost any house that needs to sell, that's the baseline. So that's not because we'll have people that say, oh my gosh, I had to replace the carpet and paint already. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a home maintenance thing that most people do anyway, and that's a regular thing. And then above and beyond that are the additional things that we're going to recommend. So prep them by telling that early on so that they don't think it's just them. Because if they think it's just them, again, they feel insulted, or they're like, can't we just work with that? It's not that bad. It's blue carpet. I mean, gosh, they could just replace it on their own. And we have before and after pictures that we'll share where there was a house where literally the seller had just replaced their carpet with really expensive blue carpet. And we're like, and they're like, we spent almost $10,000. Yeah. So I was like, you can keep the padding, but we have to replace the top. So, yeah. Yeah.
And
I'll show you the pictures.
And
later.
the script there is we need to get showings. We have to get them in the door. And so if they're looking online and they see the blue carpet in person, you could say to them, it looks better in person than it will show in photographs. So you're kind of giving them a fake compliment, but you're saying, I can't get them to your house to look at it in person if they don't see the pictures and respond to it and schedule the showing. The name of the game is showings. So they will show up and then they'll fall in love with your property. But if I can't get them to respond to your photos, we don't have a shot because they're not walking in the door.
Right. Yeah. And curb appeal is so important. So a lot of times people are like, well, okay, I'm focused all inside. We don't need to worry about the outside, right? No, the outside is actually the first impression. The people will keep driving past. So first impression is online. Second impression is when they drive up to the house. And when they drive up and it looks like really just not well taken care of, or they're not mowing it because the house is vacant, all those things, they might just say, well, you know what, if that's a reflection of how they take care of it, it's probably not good inside. Let's keep going. We're short on time. That happens a lot where people are like, we'll skip that house. But if they pull up and it looks nice and it's like all, cutesy looking or whatever, curb appeal is so important to get people in there. So you can see online, like on Instagram, the ones that get the most loves and all that is like the cutest looking homes. They don't even have to be big, right? It's because of the curb appeal and the how it looks on the outside. So that's really, really important. And then just keeping the landscaping and stuff. Mulch is amazing. Just always put in mulch. And then, evergreens are great. A lot of people will say put in flowers. To me, only put in flowers, fresh flowers, if there's somebody there to take care of it. Or sod if there's someone to water it. If not, it's just going to be dead in within a week, right? So make sure, that all happens. And then, of course, replacing any loose or damaged shingles, clean gutters, paint and caulk window trims and doors.
And I do think that a mistake that some agents make is you show up for the listing appointment and you go right inside and then you don't make yourself revisit the exterior of the house. I have done that before. I'll get home and I'll have 6 pages of notes on the inside of the house and I'm like, oh my gosh, does it need to be power washed? What shape are the shingles in? make yourself go out and really walk the outside, or else just schedule a time to go back. Because again, like you said, if the outside doesn't look good, they may just say to their agent, keep driving.
Yeah.
And you've got to warn your seller that, like, hey, if you're having people no-show for appointments, it could be that they did drive-by, but then they wouldn't come in.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep your outside up, or else they're just going to keep driving, and the agent can't force them to come in for a showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're always surprised to hear that, but I'm like, remember back when you were looking, you know.
Yeah. The other one that's a simple one, but I'm surprised at seeing a lot of, at homes they don't do it, is removing the window screens. It brings in so much light. Just remove the window screens and put it somewhere. And sellers will say, everything that we recommend, they'll almost always will ask, like, do we really have to do that? Well, you don't have to do any of it, but here's what we've seen in the results. And I'm just going to give you the comprehensive list, and I'll show you what are the most important. So that's usually what I do, is like give them the 5 like have to do, and then the rest of it is kind of optional. But I really recommend all of these things, especially if you want the results that you're hiring us for. So, all right. So we have a few more things, and then we're going to go show you guys some before and after, so you can see.
Yeah, we're halfway through.
We're halfway through? Okay, good. And then, so again, eliminating clutter. There's some things there's a lot of companies and stuff out there that can help. Don't try to get them to do it alone. If they do it alone, you're going to lose time, right? So time is so important. Once they make a decision to list, the sooner they can get it on, the better. So when we say do these things, we're not trying to drag it on for months. We're trying to get it done as soon as possible. So I always prep the seller, again, like, you ready to do this? We're a partnership. We're going to do this together. You're going to suffer. I'm going to suffer for the next few weeks, but we're going to get it done. And then good. It's smooth sailing. Smooth sailing, really. But if we don't do that ahead of time, it's going to be miserable for a long time, for you and for us. I tell them, we're in this together. If you're miserable, I'm probably miserable. If you're happy, I'm probably happy.
I say, I'm going to get sick of you, and you're going to get sick of me.
So you just tell them that. These are words that are meaningful, but it's true, right? It's true. And I think a lot of times agents try to hide that and try to be like, we're so professional. Talk to them like they're your friends. They should become your friends, right? You get really close to them, and you tell them because you want the best for your friends. And so we tell them all of that, and then we tell them, there's all these companies that can come help you, and so you can expedite this as fast as you can. Don't try to do it alone. Keep donate things and all that, and then remove temptations. So this is another thing that we've gone into homes where I'm like, I can't believe they have like little things that are so easy to take right off the counter. Not to say that people come into homes to steal things, but don't make it tempting, or a little kid could just grab it and walk away with it, right? So remove the stuff, and I found out, I think in one of the articles, that the number one stolen thing is actually medicine. So prescription medicine. So medication should always be put away. A bunch of other things that just, get in the habit. Okay, so also teach them how to show the home if it's occupied. That's the other thing that a lot of times I think people forget. They do it and the pictures look amazing, but then you come for the showing, you're like, wait, is this the same house? Why does it look so different? It should feel exactly the same as what they saw online is when the people get there. And so you have to educate them and teach them on how to spruce up the home before each showing and before they open house. So have like a plan of action, tell them what to do, tell them, like, here are some tips. It's so basic, you think, but they just don't know. It's like every time you eat, wash the dishes like immediately after you eat, or don't eat at all in the house, because if you cook in the house it might smell. So for about a week, because we're going to try to sell it in a week, go out and eat every day. Better yet, go get an Airbnb and stay in it. Like, I suggest that to people, and they're like, seriously? I'm like, it would just be easier for you, because I want to get as many people in as possible, and then you're under contract, we're smooth sailing. But I can't promise it, but these are the idea of what we want to do. And then they're like, okay. So, but give them a plan of action if they don't agree to that, so that at least they know what they need to be prepping for. Another big one, like artificial air fresheners, sprays, and candles are terrible, because it just smells bad. Like, if something smells bad, spraying strawberry on top of it makes it smell like a smelly strawberry. So it's not a good thing, and people get headaches and stuff.
Well, people assume that you're covering something up, and maybe they're not. Maybe their house is just neutral. They love all the scents, and there's nothing to hide, but people will assume that they're hiding something.
Yeah, right? So exactly, especially with like musty smells, they're like, it must be the house is like has some water problems, and you're like, no, not at all. But and then just cleaning out everything. So the fun part now is showing the pictures. People love before and after. So Jennifer, you want to talk about the ones that you guys did?
Yeah. So I'm sorry they're not side by side. We have to toggle back and forth. So this was a house where they thought that their home was lovely. She literally had tears about her drapes needing to come down at the closing table. I felt so bad. So very neat. No kids in this house. They had all their collectibles. Just very, very neat, but overwhelming. Okay, so go to the after. So we kept the same couch. So, we just made them get rid of the big things, but look at how much brighter it looks. Look at how much more modern that it looks. And you have to tell people, listen, no offense, but we're probably going to find a buyer who's like 25 years younger than you are. So we need to make this something that would appeal to like your children, and then they understand. So here was their dining room. These are the drapes. She cried sitting at that chair, cried. Next.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a completely different house.
Yeah.
And when they saw the pictures, they were like, okay, now we understand. They were very, very resistant to it, but then they understood once it was finished.
There's a light bulb out.
Oh. Jay.
You're just jealous.
It's not perfect.
Lauren, was this yours? Yeah. Why don't you talk about it, Lauren? This was the old listing when it was listed, right, with another agent not in the room.
Not in the room. It was listed on and off for a year. These were the pictures from the last agent.
And not bad, right? Not bad.
This is what it looked
They're
like.
okay. Yeah, they're
when I
fine.
went over. And this is
Wow. Yeah, nice.
and we sold it. We were done in 3 days. We had 100 people through the home
Wow.
in 3 days.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so if you go back to the first one, so the curtains, they've got
Yeah.
these light sheer, they're fine, right? But then go to the after, the simple white, I mean, what a difference that made. So go back again. So again, the heavy, dark furniture, huge television, looks awful. It looks like grandma's house, you know? It's
and
like,
just like a hodgepodge of random furniture.
yeah, exactly. And again, they thought it looked nice.
Every room looked like that.
Yeah.
So now every room looked like that. I escorted the furniture to storage with the movers. Like,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay,
Great.
next. So here was their family room. Again, fine, right? Like this was on the market with this picture. And then that was the new one.
So like light and bright.
Yeah.
No painting or carpet, right? It's just the same when you just set the stage.
I can't remember.
They had refreshed about 6 months prior.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
but
the
we
carpet-
didn't.
No,
Yeah.
so I had the carpet stretched, but we didn't replace anything. The kitchen has a linoleum floor that's 25 years old.
Yeah. So a major impact just based on staging, right? So sometimes it requires more. We have some examples of a lot more stuff that needed to be done, but the reality is this is how simple it can be, and it could make such a huge impact, right? So
And so you want to go into the appointment with before and after pictures so that they really understand what you're talking about. So the same house, that was
sorry.
the dining room.
This is the dining room. Oh, wow.
so they had office and dining room. Wow.
So you want to, okay, so with this house, it's in a neighborhood with mostly 4 bedrooms upstairs, right? This house only has 3 bedrooms upstairs. So what Lauren had explained to them is that by them using their dining room as an office, it was exaggerating the fact that the home only had 3 bedrooms upstairs and that they might need to also use that dining room as their office. So we suggested to them to shut the office down. Let's show people that it's a nice dining room. I mean, it was a pretty room. It has a
Exactly.
bay
Like,
window.
that's an important thing. Like,
you know.
don't showcase or bring attention to something that's a flaw to the property. By doing that, it brings attention to the flaw.
Yeah. Like this one, I think they did end up leaving. They had to leave a bed in the rec room because they had an aunt or somebody that lived down there. But in general, I don't like beds in living areas because, again, it just highlights the fact that they don't have a guest room. The guests have to be in this living area. So you have to explain to them how a buyer is going to take that so that they can understand.
Yep. Okay, so is this mine? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, okay, so this house, most of the houses I go into, people will say all the time to me, they'll say after the fact, you're so lucky, you get like the best listings. I'm like, I do. But usually, this one's not even one of the bad ones, but we usually have to do a lot more work to it. So we recommend a lot of painting the brick, all these different things, light fixtures and stuff. So this is a house in Springfield where we did get the record-breaking price in it at the time a few years ago. And so it was really kind of an estate sale, and so the people were like, well, if we just sell it really low, do we really need to do all that? Like, can we just leave it like that and have some people? They already had let some neighbors in, and I'm like, oh my God, don't let anybody else into the house. And I was like, it's just, even with that stuff there, and it was pretty well maintained overall. Like, there wasn't any big problems with it, but it just kind of looked like an older person's home, and all the stuff, it looked like someone passed away, and the person didn't even pass away, but it was like all their stuff was left there like that. So anyway, so that's the after. So before and after, what we did was we had them paint it and just have simple stuff. So I'm going to show you kind of a progression from and this was a few years ago. So for those of you that are new, what did I have to do? In the beginning, I didn't probably have the skills to really sell the staging as well. So I had to do the staging myself for free. So this is my own staging stuff that I brought in, and then this was just all their stuff, but they were like, we're not going to pay for staging, we're not going to do all that. But I knew it was going to hurt them, and I was like, I need to do this. So I went ahead and did the staging myself, and then helped them manage the contractors and all that. So that's that. This is another one. So you'll notice the trend. I love painting brick fireplaces. So this is another one where it was in my like farming neighborhood, and they had a lot of stuff in the house that was like kind of brown and dark brick and stuff like that. And the husband takes pride in all of the work that he does, and he's like, it's wood burning, like everybody likes that, and I like that it has that mark. It shows that it's used. And I'm like, what? Okay, but he would say stuff like that, and I'm like, it's just trying to justify that it still works because most people don't use wood burning fireplaces and and all this stuff. So they'll come up with all kinds of reasons and excuses, and I'm like, but I was like, but let me show you what everybody else wants right now. And he was like, I will not. He said, I'll do all the things you recommend, but I will not paint the fireplace. And I really had to sell them. This is where you have to go when we are salespeople. We got to sell them.
Because it's scary for people.
It's
Painting
scary.
brick is scary. I just did it at my house.
Yeah. So I had to show them so many pictures, so many things, and finally they agreed. And they agreed to do the professional staging. And
we can't wait. We're like,
there it is. Yay! There it is. So right, looks so much better, brighter, and all that, and fresher, younger, and so yeah, that was great. So,
beautiful.
That's a new gas fire.
No, it's the same thing. So what we did here, it's painted,
Spray painted?
with spray painted with whatever fireproof
Spray paint
black.
is your
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, paint is your friend. Paint
Yeah.
is my friend. I love paint so much. And then this is professional staging. So the stuff that you saw earlier was kind of like makeshift stuff that I just threw in just to kind of give scale to the room. This is real staging. So, okay, so here's another one. So paint, again, is my friend. I don't tell people to spend a ton of money. I say, I also say this, but you have to be careful when you say it. If they're insulting of their house, I might say this. If they don't, I will never use this. But they will say, like, my house is like this or whatever. And I said, and they don't have budget. So I said, you know what people always say about me? I'm the lipstick on a pig person. I'm going to give you, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm not asking you to spend a ton of money because they're like, I'm not going to gut my kitchen. I'm not going to do my bath. I talked to another agent. They want me to do all this stuff. I'm like, show you how to do it on the cheap. You want to know how to do it on the cheap? Here's how you do it on the cheap. So basically this was it. There it is. Yeah. All we did, look at that. She already had the stainless steel refrigerator. We replaced the microwave and then painted the cabinets, and then I think they did the counters as well. Yeah. That was it. Same. They already had the lights. Look, it was like not that much at all.
The lights look so funny in the other picture because the lights are nice, but the kitchen looks so old. They look
that you
funny.
don't even. They look bad, right?
Yeah.
So on this one is another record-breaking. This is a townhouse in Fairfax, and with this one, what we did was when we did that, we sold more than the end unit. We're an interior unit just by doing that. And people assume that's a new kitchen. It's not a new kitchen, but it looks like. So all we use is to make sure you don't call it new or anything. It's an updated kitchen. Updated kitchen, refreshed or whatever. And that was it. Okay. And you can even see in the back, so that cabinet in the back, this was a few years ago. So the cabinet in the back, we also had them stain it. So that was like a dark stain that's in there that we did in the bathroom. Yeah, the powder room, you can see it. In this picture, you can't see it, but anyway. Okay, so here's the house. Can you kind of see the blue carpet? This is the house with the blue carpet and the curtains and all that. So, and sometimes, like Jennifer had showed earlier, you have to use some of their stuff because they're living there. They're like, we're not going to move everything. So there was stuff in here that we had to use, but this was the house before, and then again painted, thing, and then the carpet was just changed to a neutral one. So big difference. Taking down the curtains. See how bright? And they had that big like transom window that was kind of hidden. Hidden by that. You couldn't even see it.
Yeah.
Look it, right? So nice.
Beautiful window.
Yeah, so this house, so in this neighborhood, it's so crazy. Like they have all these things that was being hidden. In this house, in that neighborhood, there were homes that were overpriced that wasn't selling. And this one comes in, we do all of this. We end up being the highest, but ours is not renovated. Like the kitchen, everything is like basic except for we painted. Again, lipstick on a pig, right? In this house, and we sold as the highest. What was that?
See the before again?
There's the before.
Gosh, that's great.
Okay. So, all right, so I want to show also condos, right? Little condos. This is a small condo that we had, and we had to use what they had also and maybe bring in a couple of our stuff. But, they had a bunch of stuff, and she's like, I have nowhere to put it, and this, that, whatever. So, little condo that really felt tiny because of it. And then this is it, like just moving out some of our stuff. Use the same couch.
Chair?
What's that?
That's my beach chair.
Yeah, beach chair, all that in there, kind of makeshift, right?
At your house.
And then that's that. Okay.
Pretty.
And then so basically gives you guys kind of an idea of like some of the stuff and the big difference it can make. So, when people say, how do you get the high prices? Well, that's how the sellers get high prices.
And if you guys don't have listings, I mean, you can use other agents with their permission before and after pictures. Just don't present it as your listing. But like, here's an example of someone that I work with before and after, like whatever. You can say it in a way to get your point across, without misrepresenting, I think.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So then how to get high quality photos and videos. Okay. So imagine this. If you're going to spend all this money on these photos and videos and stuff, you're the one marketing it. Do you want to market a house that looks bad? Like you're not going to do like these really amazing pictures of really expensive stuff and then it's all bad pictures because it makes you look bad as an agent. right? So I try to convince them to do all these things because then I tell them I'll spend even more money to market your property. I'll spend even the highest, cost to do extra videos, extra this and that, whatever. And that's my kind of sell to them so that, we can present in the best way. And twilight shots, I also read that when you do those, they get the more clicks on them. So if you use that as your front picture, I don't always use it as a front picture, but if you have it in there as your front picture, it gets more impressions and more clicks on, just for some reason. And then you get what you pay for. So, all of us have seen listings out there that basically look like they just took it with, by the way, iPhone is really good to take pictures. I take all my coming soon pictures myself using an iPhone. But, if that's what you're going to do on like the rest of it, be careful because, at some point it doesn't look as professional, as good. And then you want to be able to tell a story and sell lifestyle with all of your videos. So both Jennifer and I use the same guy. He's amazing. We'll show you guys examples of that. But don't just go in and be like, here's the kitchen, here's the living room. It's got crown molding. It's got like whatever. You're just like feature dumping. Don't feature dump. Tell them how they can live in that space. So you share that through whether you're talking or you're showing it and demonstrating it by you acting through it or kind of living through it instead of just saying the feature. So they always say like in sales, you should always do features and benefits, not just feature. Right? So like, what does that mean to them? What's the benefit by having that feature? Sell the neighborhood, right? And, this is another one. I skipped that one. Tell the photographer and videographer what to capture because they don't know. But the sellers will tell you what is great about the home and, tell you all these things. And you've been there hopefully like a few times so that you know what looks good and what doesn't. So then you tell them what to capture.
Another tip is that there are some photographers who are great photographers, but their shots are too tight in on the room and you can't see how the rooms are connected. So if possible, you want to make sure that they get some really good, I call them like the money shots, some really good shots that shows where the other rooms are situated in relationship to the main room that you're showing. Don't be just so tight in to where that's all that you see. Yeah,
you coach them, you tell them. Like I want, and not only that, I want both. So you do it your way, but I also would like to request X, Y, Z. So, I like what they do. I just want to add a few extra things because you want to have options of what to pick. Because sometimes in certain rooms, it does look good to be close in, but other times it really just looks weird. And if they both look good, then you can present both.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And then what else?
Some of this is more, those things in the middle are more on when you're writing your remarks.
Yeah, okay.
Which are we going to get to that later?
Right here,
okay.
Right here. So basically real quick and then you go into it, but I always try to write a beginning one, but I feel better after everything's done. It feels more like I can speak about it truly because now it's an amazing looking property. When you write something and it's not good yet, notice how you write it, how you feel, because it doesn't look great yet. But so I write it and I rewrite it after it's all gorgeous and beautiful because I can feel really great about it then. So this is why we put it here, is you want to write a compelling property description. So go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, and before I forget, because I don't think it's on this list, one of the things I always tell my team is when you're writing property descriptions, go and look at the descriptions of all the other homes in the neighborhood. Because not that you're copying them, but you're looking to see, did they mention anything that I need to make sure I mention, right?
Yeah,
so are they mentioning anything?
Comps, yeah.
Okay, good, I wanna make sure. So again, you're looking to invoke emotion and excitement. You wanna be super positive, like peppy, as my mother-in-law would say in your description. Focus on the lifestyle, again, features and benefits. Ask the seller what they love about the home. We actually have we haven't used it in a while, but we used to do like a top 10 list. Some sellers love this. They love homework. Ask them, say, make me a top 10 list of things you love the most, either about your home or the neighborhood. And they'll give you things that you hadn't thought about. And also, I think it makes the seller kind of feel like, oh, wow, that was like really good that they asked me that. Gives them a chance to tell you what they love. And then you can make sure that you mention it. Like I said, compare it to look at the comps and focus on what makes this home better. So sometimes my agents are like, I don't know what to write. I only have 3 sentences. Help me. And I'm like, go look at the other comps, compare it to your house, and then see why is yours better, and then make sure that those items are included in the description. Assume that a buyer is sitting there reading, not that we have 5 homes on the market in the same neighborhood, but assume they're reading the descriptions of 5 competing homes, and you want to make sure you've pointed out things that would turn them towards yours versus the other ones. Obviously, list all your updates. We upload an updates list in MLS. I know a lot of really good agents do that, but not everybody does. So if you can upload a list of the updates, it just helps so much to be able to give that to your client. Think of keywords that agents are using because, when you search, like, for example, assumable loans, you can set up a search to where you're searching through the remarks to see if the agent mentions that anywhere. or gazebo. Like if there's anything that your home has, make sure you mention that in the remarks because buyers may be searching for something like that. Obviously include the schools or community name if they're sought after, and then review all the drop downs in the MLS and only select features that enhance and will help sell the home. But really make sure that you are selecting all of the appropriate drop downs. Spend some time on that. It helps to do it in the house because sometimes you'll be like, oh, was that a Palladium window? And you can go around and find it and then make sure you added it.
The reviewing in the MLS is really important. So I work with a lot of engineers and stuff, and they want to list everything about it. And I'm like, that's almost too much information. So let's focus on the good thing. Again, back to less is more. And yes, it's a galley kitchen, but I don't want to say it's a galley kitchen because that's actually a bad thing. And they're like, what? But, and I'm like, no. So I try to not include anything that's not, even though, so like, you know how like sometimes it's like dining room, living room combo. I'm like, that's not a good thing usually, so I don't click on that. But look at every drop down because there's so many things that you can click that's actually good. Just ignore, even though it has it, just ignore it. But some people, they feel like they have to click everything because they have to fill every box or whatever. I'm like, no, we'll skip that field because it doesn't actually enhance the listing. So, okay. So marketing tools that work. So reverse prospect, you want to go through some of that and I'll talk about the
Yeah, I can talk about some of these. So with reverse prospecting, hopefully everybody knows what that is. I know it's kind of annoying when you get an email saying, hey, your buyer selected my listing or whatever, but what I will do with this is when I post my listing on Facebook, and I always get way more comments and likes on my personal Facebook than our business page, but I will go through the reverse prospecting list, find all the agents that I'm Facebook friends with, and then I'll tag them in the comments on my Facebook post and be like, hey, making sure you guys saw this listing, your client has it, favorited or whatever. And then I promise you, usually within like 6 or 7 hours, one of those agents schedules a showing. I'm not saying it's just because I did that post, but it can't hurt.
It does help.
And what really helps with that is your Facebook friends, your sphere, they're seeing you do this and it makes you look really proactive and well connected. They're like, damn, she just tagged like 50 agents on this thing. That's pretty good. So you want them, and if you're Facebook friends with your seller and they see that, it's impressive to them. So it's just a way of being proactive. Obviously targeting agents who work in that area. So we will just go into MLS, download a list of agents that have had a transaction on either side within the last 2-3 years, and either call them if you know them, text them, do a email blast to them. Just make sure that all those agents are aware of your listing. Ask your seller to help you with blasting all the neighbors. So usually they can post their listing on Nextdoor or on their neighborhood Facebook page. Of course, their personal social media. Ask them to help you. Like some agents are like, well, does that look like I'm making the seller do my job? No, the seller seller knows people like them. People like them want to move to the neighborhood. So you want to use them to help you with that.
And write it for them. So that's you just write it for them and just say, hey, do you mind putting that on here and inviting them, or make it easy
Make
for
it
them.
easy for them.
Yeah.
Custom website. So I know Megan's been doing, Megan and other agents been doing this forever, but they were nice and shared with us their process. So now we do the custom website to easily share the property. Sellers love knowing that they have a website for their address. Again, I know that a lot of people do that by now, but still, I think that it makes you look good and it's super cheap to get it on GoDaddy, I guess. Do you want to pick up?
So definitely, leverage everything on social media, right? So post it to everywhere. Don't just think it's just, you have different audience everywhere. So some people say they don't do that much on LinkedIn, right? You're starting to do stuff on LinkedIn. I basically do exactly the same thing. I might tweak a little bit on LinkedIn, but I'm copying and pasting almost everything I put on Facebook onto LinkedIn because I have people that are LinkedIn that don't even have Facebook, right? Or Instagram. So make sure that you leverage that and you put stuff. You want to sprinkle it in with other things, not just look at this listing. So it's other stuff too, but definitely leverage that. And then hosting special open houses and events to bring in neighbors. I mean, that, I can't even emphasize that enough. You're gonna do an open house anyway, do at least 1 hour earlier and call it a neighbor's preview and have the neighbors come and then, have an opportunity to really kind of circle prospect around that listing. And so we do that. We don't do it for all of our listings, but the ones where we want to get more in that neighborhood. So our farming areas and stuff. So I shared this picture because you see those 4 there, right? They follow me everywhere to my open houses when I do a neighbor's preview in 2 neighborhoods. So we call them the usual suspects. And we make it a game and we joke about it and they recruit other people to come. So from that group, I've gotten a lot of referrals. But so that's why I showed it. And is it expensive? No, look at what I brought. Stuff that we bought from our grocery store. We don't have special bakeries. We don't have time we just get whatever. And then I show the end because everything's empty. Everything goes. People just grab a little muffin or whatever, and it's not expensive, and it's not, and then if you look also closely on the pictures, we start with like when the neighbors come, it's like a little bit fancier champagne. By the end, it's like whatever we have is out there. But it's like whatever's left is there for even the public open house, but eventually it's gone, it's gone. So don't feel like you have to do this. So I think I've talked to a few agents where they won't do it because they think it's expensive. I'm like, guys, it's not expensive at all. When it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't mean anything, but it gives you a chance to also use it on social media, advertise it and stuff, and get your usual people, to come. And that's basically.
Do you let your sellers come for that if they ask
Yes,
you to?
actually, I was going to add a picture of my seller asked, and I said, yes, you're welcome to come. And he stayed the whole time. He was sneaky in the basement. I'm like, what? He never even left. He was sneaky, and he hung out in the basement.
In general, we don't want our people at open houses, but for that's why I asked
for
you
the
for
the neighbor's preview, but he snuck and stayed, but he was helpful with it. And with this particular one, this is a more recent one, and I share it because you can also do an after party. So we did this. It went so well that on this Friday, I'm hosting a Cinco de Mayo, like goodbye. So we're calling it Adios Amigos to them, and we're going to do that Friday evening. So for the same group, same people are coming, but all the neighbors, because they're like, we didn't make it to your neighbor's preview. Oh my gosh, whatever. So we're like, okay, fine. So we're doing that, and that's another opportunity to get the same people together and just make it like you have an awesome listing, maximize it as best you can, and then that word will spread.
Yeah, especially if it's in your farm, you should be like having something there every day.
Yep. Okay. So. All right, so then really then on to the next thing is basically just talking about videos and what you guys could be doing to kind of differentiate yourself from everybody else. If you're doing the same pictures, the same videos, the same boring stuff, then you're just like anyone else. So what are you going to do to make it stand out more? And so this is an example that Jennifer did, right? And you're the specialist of that.
Yeah, so it was
Wait, can you
about
pause it for a second?
it was about a particular house, sort of, because you want to have evergreen content. Does everyone know that term? You can use it multiple times. So I don't want to do a video necessarily just about a property. I mean, sometimes I do, but I also want to highlight the area because then on YouTube, people are searching for those certain neighborhoods and other social media, and then your video is going to come up and they'll be able to see it.
What we did is, like, we use it for the listing, and then as soon as it's sold, we switch out the front on YouTube, so then it's like evergreen
Smart.
content. So then Mantua.
That's really smart.
So when people search, it just is like, what is it like to live in Mantua? And then they see her pictures.
Yeah.
Her videos.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so you can play a few minutes of it.
Fantastic community. How do I know this? Not only do I sell here, my entire family lives here.
That's true.
So awesome.
So this is the farmer's market, the pool. So I'm going around to the different areas. My goal is not to sell this house off the video. I want people to call me because they want to move to the neighborhood and they think that I'm an expert.
I'm Jennifer Mack, and this is your chance to get into my neighborhood.
That's awesome.
So it's your chance to get into my neighborhood because it's the cheapest house in the neighborhood. Doesn't have a lot of renovations. So
And continues in here.
I think that's probably enough since we're kind of low on time.
yeah. So, all right, so.
And that's the time, that's the length of it, right? A minute and a half? Yeah. So these are not
short. Yeah, they should
these
be
are not
really
long.
short.
When you film it, you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be 20 minutes, but it's short.
Yeah. So then what? I keep going. Okay. So then, and like, so she's done several videos. So we have a few. We again use the same guy, but like here's one where like. I don't market myself as a luxury agent, but because I did this video, all of a sudden everybody's like, you're the luxury agent. And all of a sudden, here we go. I'm now, but I differentiate it and say we have a luxury division, but we also do, other listings, all price points, because I don't want to be known as just luxury. Because, I mean, our bread and butter is not luxury, but we're not going to turn down luxury business, right? So that's a big piece of it. But because of this video, it really did, I don't want to say viral, but it got spread and shared so much that their friends called me about it and other people have called me about it. So, so if we want to play this one.
This is your own private resort.
And this is about selling lifestyle, right? So.
A backyard retreat, a music room, and an oasis. I'm Mack DeCaro. Welcome to paradise. Almost 10,000 square feet, close to 4 acres, and over $500,000 in custom upgrades.
Okay, so you want to pause it real quick?
Grand estate.
So also showing a little bit of personality, that was a bit of it, because I don't love video, but weirdly enough, when you see these, people are like, you love video. And I'm like, well, once I love the house and I can do stuff, it's fun, I'll just do it. So I don't have I don't have a hard time doing that, but a boring video, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say about it. So you have to find what works for you and show your personality. Not everybody's going to like this, but for me, it worked. And the other videos that I paid for many years, I never posted them. I paid HD Brothers a whole bunch of different videos. I might have posted a few, but I just didn't like them. So then this was the kind that worked for me, and really it was about the lifestyle because that's what I believed in, and then also too, my clients liked it. So when we do that, you're not only doing it to sell the house, you're doing it because the seller also wants it, and then it's a marketing piece for yourself. So that's the part when we talk about like how to sell more homes. It's not just selling the house. It's like other things that come. Like she's showcasing Mantua. She wants to bring more people there, but other people that say, hey, I want that. So then we have sellers that will say, like, when do I get my commercial? They call it a commercial. And I'm like, your commercial video is coming. We will get it coming. They're like, what are you going to do at our house? I'm like, we'll see. We have to figure out. So it does require a lot of investment of time, but isn't that what it's about, right? Like that's our job. Like marketing is about doing that to get for them, but also for yourself. So some people, they focus just on selling that house and then it's over. For us, it's like something that you want to do that's evergreen, that's going to help. So now I'll have like, I have, I don't know, 20 plus of those types of videos basically to show people like, hey, this is what we can do. And some people are uncomfortable, we won't do it. Like if they don't want that in their home, then we don't do that. But a lot of them actually want it and can't wait to see it. So that's just an example of some things that, we're doing right for videos and things. And
definitely don't. We have just 5 minutes.
Okay,
definitely
cool.
don't assume that the video. You don't want the seller to think the video is going to help sell. Well, I guess you wouldn't say the seller. The video. Yeah, you don't want them to. You don't want to talk too much about how you're going to use it for all of your marketing. But MLS is what's going to sell it, right? And that's why we spent so much time talking about pricing, how the pictures look. That is really what's going to get people through the door. But this is all about your brand.
Yeah, about your brand. This is really branding. And the thing that we do so that sellers don't feel that way, we do 2 videos. Because in MLS, you can't put a video with yourself in it. So we pay for the regular video as the virtual tour video. And then we do this as branding and helping, and we call it their commercial. So, and they know it's branding. So I'm not not telling them that, but I'm not making it about me as much as about a commercial for them. So, you can stop. You can stop, Emily. So, so basically the next thing is really just Q&A, right? We have only 5 minutes left, so I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Emily?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah. So we have 5 minutes for questions.
Hey, Jennifer, you talked in the beginning about buyers may not have the budget, the vision, time to renovate a home. What about if that's the seller's objection?
Well, that's why we're helping them to spend like she said, lipstick on a pig. Like, how little money can we spend to make the biggest impact?
And if they feel like I don't have.
If they don't have any money, well, there's some options like Curbio, so there's some homes that really benefit from something like that, where a company will come in and they pay at closing. There's plenty of realtors who put up their own money. I mean, I'm not here to tell you to do that, but there's plenty of realtors who will do that, 20, 30 grand, and you obviously get something signed that they're going to reimburse you, but you can certainly do that. I've done that before, not that big of an amount, but I've done like $3,000 or $4,000 before, that I'll front them.
Well, that's what I was thinking about doing for a client.
You can do that. I mean, talk to your,
I know it's going to sell for more, and I know it's
Yeah.
going to benefit them.
Yeah. Yeah. And some sellers are like, yeah, that's fine. And others are going to be like, no, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. And that's why we said in the beginning, as is, that's an option.
That's an option.
We have an as is Gretchen has an as is property right now. Thank God the guy took all of his crap out. But I mean, it's as is, are we going to go shoot a video there? No, but that's fine. There's a seller for every,
I think, and the explanation that I give for them when they say that in terms of time is like the time is up front versus the time after. So when you're saying you don't have time, that means you might not sell the house and you're going to be stuck with it much longer. Which one would you rather be? What position would you rather be in? And it's like, well, yeah, I want to sell it both. Sometimes they're like both. I don't want to have time in the beginning. I want time. And it's like, but that's not realistic. And so, we can show you kind of like at the trends and case studies where that isn't the case. So, at the end of the day, assuming that it doesn't sell, would you be okay if your house sat there a little bit longer? And most of the times it's not. So they're like, all right, fine. What do we have to do?
And sometimes I will tell people they're quick to drop a price by like 25 grand. Like I'd much rather you spend 5 or 10 up front and you drop it 25 later.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I've been struggling with people who just love their pets lately.
It's hard.
They don't want to separate. They don't want to put them in
It's really hard.
in a kennel, and so they work hard to bring them in and out, but then there's smells.
All the more reason to just do a killer job in the beginning and only have it be on the market for 3 or 4 days. You know, I usually say to them at the very beginning when we first come into relationship at the listing appointment or whatever, I say to them, start thinking about if there's a vacation you've been wanting to go on, a relative you need to go visit, whatever, so that when we pick our weekend to go live, now don't pick a holiday weekend necessarily to go on the market, you know, pick a regular weekend. I think Jay was the one that said there's about 35% lower traffic, right? If it's, was that
Holiday weekend.
Easter or spring break? Wasn't that you that said that? Yeah. So you do have to be careful about that. They'll be like, oh yeah, I'll go to town for spring break. And you're like, oh, you know, they got to think about that. But anyway, I talk to them in the very beginning so that it's not the night before we go on the market, hey, you guys better go, you know, find a place for the weekend. But that way they can take their pets and be out of there, you know, and then hopefully be able to move right back in. But pets are a huge issue.
Yeah.
Lauren was going over walking those people's dog every day when there were showings at this house, you know, and luckily it wasn't on long, but pets are a big thing.
I tell people that they're eliminating people that
Yeah.
be buying their house.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to be okay with, like, taking, I don't know, 10-20% of people that just don't like they have allergies, they're afraid of coming in, like, do you want to reduce your buyer pool?
Yeah, I showed a beautiful house in Vienna. Well, I tried to, but we walked in and their cat was on the front little thing and the client just turned right around and left. And they were excited about this house. I mean, we had, you know.
Who's that story? We had a client.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? Any hot tips that anybody was sitting there like, why didn't they say this or that you want to share? Yeah.
Just one thing, I've gone back and forth on the website for each listing, and I have a way I can do that without too much difficulty. But I think one of the downsides for me is it's almost the exact same as that listing page on my website. They're almost the same, you know. But the page on my listing website lets a person who goes there for information search for all the other houses, sign up for my website.
It's just a longer URL, right? So we're just trying to make it easy for people, you know, 1234mainstreet.com is the easiest.
You can make the URL to go to
you
the
know.
webpage, but it seems like a downside of the exclusive.
Yeah, but like if you're trying to do a sign writer with a URL on it, you're not going to have your big long, like it's got to be short.
No, you can make it, you can just put a forward on whatever URL you want.
You can drive it to a
page.
different.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, it doesn't matter where it goes to.
I guess you're missing out on signups on your website or
Yeah.
those kind of things. It's one of the downsides, and I see pros and cons.
Yeah, no, if you want to have it forward, that's fine. To me, it's almost more just the novelty. Like the sellers love seeing that they have their own website, and you know, hey, we've got your listing up live. Here's your website, and they're like, some sellers like it. So, but yeah, you can have it forward wherever you want it forward. Yeah, you definitely want to capture registrations. Anything else?
And photography companies will do a website for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
If you use a
photography companies have tons of add-ons now.
home visit or whoever.
Yeah, but they're going to have a template, right? So if you have a certain thing you like to do, you know, like we have a seller seminar coming up on Monday. We're going to want to put that on there. You know, like if you want to make it more custom.
Want to make it custom, you
Yeah.
gotta go that.
Yeah, but if you're like a one-person shop or whatever, then, you know, yeah, make it easy for sure. You do not, if you're a one-person shop, do not spend a day on your website. That's silly to do. You should be out prospecting. Yeah.
I don't know if this is relevant, but like, what are your processes to like make it standard? Like, what are kind of the, you know, procedures or like apps that you use so that you can do the checklist?
Ask Vanessa. I mean,
Yeah, we use, I have a listing intake form, so the agents fill that out, and it zaps over to our Trello board. That is where our TC goes through all the procedures, but the listing intake goes from everything like, when do you want the sign post? Do you need a staging consult? What day? What day do you want photos? What
ordering HOA docs.
Yeah.
Do you need help
Yeah.
ordering HOA docs? What type of pictures do you want? What type of brochure do you want? And then all that info zaps over to Trello, and then our TC takes it from there to schedule everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, we do, we have a checklist on Evernote, but we also have it in Asana. So like that's basically what you could do. It's like the same thing that you just check off as you go. And it's not the same for all of it, but we also have a seller questionnaire that we have the seller fill out. As soon as they sign a listing agreement, they get that seller questionnaire, and it basically asks all the questions just to confirm, but then also has the part about like what needs to be updated, what things do you love about the home, you know, all that kind of stuff, so that you can use it in the marketing. So